Hello and welcome to another edition of A View from the Hill. Today we are all here today to talk to you about this new program that's been implemented in Ipswich called the H.O.P.E program, which is very, very similar to the Angel program that you've been reading and hearing about over in Gloucester. And just to remind folks, over a year ago, the town of Ipswich identified opiate addiction as a crisis here, not only in Ipswich, but across Essex County and across the Commonwealth. But here in Ipswich, we identified that it was a little bit of a bigger problem than we had first anticipated. And we started seeing stats and data that emphasized that Ipswich was having a problem with its opiate addiction problems. And we as a community came together last year, and we decided together that we needed to address this crisis. And I'm happy to report over that year, we've done a tremendous job as a community. And Ipswich has really stepped up to the plate to ensure that its citizens get the help they deserve, get recovery services that they deserve, and more importantly, that the family who's dealing with that crisis gets the help that they deserve. And as it was explained earlier this week, this crisis is a wheel. And it's a wheel that has many, many spokes. One of the spokes that we're going to address today is this new program that the Ipswich Police Department has implemented called the H.O.P.E program, which is very similar to the Angel program in Gloucester. We have been working together to ensure that we get a program like this so that when citizens are faced with this opiate crisis within their families or within themselves, they know that they can go to a place where they're going to get help. And that place now is the Ipswich Police Department. So I'm happy to have as my guest today Chief Paul Nikas, Reverend Pugh, and Maureen Karr, who are going to talk about that program. And we're going to talk about that program in length so that you know that if you need help, or you know of a family member that needs help, or more importantly, if you know of anybody that needs help, we're going to be there for them. So at this time, I'd like to introduce to you our Chief of the Ipswich Police Department, Paul Nikas, who is going to explain to you the H.O.P.E program that is being implemented today, July 1st, at the Ipswich Police Department. Chief, welcome to A View from the Hill. Thank you for all that you have done over this past few months to bring this program to Ipswich. What I would love to hear from you today is, can you explain to us what the program is? And then tell us how we got to this point today and how people can come to the Ipswich Police Department and get that help that other communities are offering.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me, Brett. The Ipswich Police Department, we believe in enforcement, education, and prevention to address the heroin issues. This program helps address the prevention. We're trying to stop the demand for heroin. Operation H.O.P.E, which stands for Heroin Opium Prevention Efforts, is a mix of the Gloucester Angel program and the program from Scottsboro, Maine. We will be open and taking any participant who's seeking help for an addiction between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. We set those hours because as a smaller town, we don't have the staff or the facilities to run 24 hours. We want to make sure that when someone comes in looking for help, that they actually get the help that they need quickly and efficiently. And that can only happen when we have enough staff on. So if a loved one or you are having an issue, if you come into the police station, you'll be met by my dispatchers who will intake you to a police officer who will then sit down with you, get some information from you, basic information for placement, and at the same time we'll be contacting one of our angels to come in and sit with you and spend time with you and get you the help that you need. We have partnered with H.O.P.E, which is a police corporation that has a network of substance abuse treatment facilities all across the country, as well as regionally. So while you're being intaked, Someone will be making phone calls to try to get you a facility for a long-term treatment. There's no cost to this treatment. If you have insurance, insurance will cover some of it. If you do not, the police department or PARI will pick up the balance through fundings that we've secured. Transportation costs will be picked up by Action Ambulance as one of our other partners. So to come in and seek help really has no financial impact on the participant, and we strongly encourage you to come in anytime. The hours are 6 to 6, but we would never turn anybody away in their hour of need.
So emphasize that to us. So even though it's 6 to 6, we need to let people understand that should something happen at 10 p.m. or something happen at 2 a.m., you still can come into the police department, but it's urged that you come between 6 and 6 because of the staffing issues that we would have compared to a Gloucester or in the state of Maine.
That is correct. The larger departments have somebody that's assigned to the police stations. We don't have the staff for that. But if somebody comes in the evening or late at night, we'd never turn away somebody in need. We would hire somebody to come in and help the process and get you the help you need. The hours just make it easier for us to guarantee a rapid intake. So it may just be a little longer period of time if I don't have staff on and have to call somebody in. But we would be more than happy to accommodate somebody if they come in off hours.
Beautiful. So in order for this to be a successful program, obviously the Ipswich Police Department, they're in place, and your folks have been trained about what to do. Can you walk us through the process? So if I had an issue and I walk in and I see a dispatcher, what happens from that point on?
If you present to the station and ask a dispatcher that you're seeking help, he will immediately call the officer in charge of the shift, who will assign a police officer to come meet you at the police station. Once you're in the station, the officer will take you to a interview room, which is just a regular, desk, chair, and just ask you a series of intake questions to make sure you get the proper placement in a facility. It's not any sort of investigation or law enforcement tone to it. It's simply name, where you're from, if you have an addiction, what particular drug is your addiction, things of that nature. And then that allows us, when we call a facility, to give them more information, to have them place you properly, to get the help that is specific to your needs. During that time, the officer is contacting dispatch to call for an angel who will come in to sit with the participant while the officer continues the calls, because we don't want somebody to be sitting in the office with one of my officers and having the officer on the phone and not being able to converse, and then having someone have that feeling that they're not being paid attention to. So the angels come in at that point to provide that person with comfort, to speak with them, to talk with them, to explain what the officer is doing, so that we can make our job, get our job done quicker and more efficiently while they sit with the participant and guide them through what they need.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So one of the reasons that this is going to be a successful program is because of the volunteers or the angels that will be coming down to the station. They are on call. And that brings us to the next segment of our show, which is Reverend Rebecca Pugh, who contacted me many, many months ago after being contacted by many in her church about how we can address this crisis. Let's talk about that. So you contacted me, said, what can we do?
Exactly.
And you then said, we need to implement some form of the angel program, because one of your parishioners, as we know, is a chief from Gloucester who implemented this down there.
Yep.
And you then decided we need to advocate for this program with our chief, which you did very nicely. Tell me why and how you are involved in this.
Well, Brad, it started with the prayer time in the worship service. A person raised their hand in church on a Sunday morning at 10 minutes after 10 and said, let's pray for my neighbor's family, because my neighbor died of an overdose last night and the family is beside themselves. Our whole neighborhood's beside ourselves. We need to pray about it. So the whole church said a prayer that day, and then the deacons were speaking a little bit later, and the chairperson of the deacons said, let's keep praying and let's think how we can use our hands and our feet as part of our prayer. So we reached out to you, and we reached out to you, and we reached out to Lenny Campanello, who, yes, you're right, comes to our church, and we're so lucky to have him be a friend of the church. And it all kind of grew into this amazing imagination. I mean, you were there that day when we said that prayer, Maureen, and you said, let's get this going, and you quickly started sending police officers to come to the meetings at the church, and like you were coming into the office 3 times a week to say, Rebecca, here, let's do this, what's next, let's get this started. So really, the town was so ready to get a program like this going, and the police department was so ready to get a program like this going. It was spectacular how fast it happened.
And I think we should let the community know that even though this is one of those spokes in that wheel, the community of Ipswich, as I said in my earlier remarks, has really stepped up to the plate. Would you like, we're going off topic a little, but could you explain to the community what the clergy has done and how the schools have come together and our local leaders have come together? They're meeting regularly. Our Learn to Cope group, I think, is growing by leaps and bounds, from what I understand.
Yes.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, well, absolutely. And members of other religious communities have started projects that are so strong. There's a group called Learn to Cope that meets on Wednesday nights, and they support families of people active in addiction and help them talk through and think about and get feedback about how to behave and how to be strong and how to keep hoping, but how to not maybe get kind of swept away and swept under the current of having an addict in the family. So Learn to Cope is getting stronger and stronger, really beautifully started by members of the Baptist Church. Yep. And then there's a group that has begun to meet in the Episcopal Church with a network of police officers, and you can probably say more about the names of it and the projects, but the school superintendent's been coming to those meetings, and school principals and educators and social workers and clergy. And so I hand that back to you, Paul, because you're even more involved in it than I am.
Yes. The grassroots program you referred to is called Ipswich Cares, and we have been formulating with all different people from the community, different social workers, the schools, the police department, neighborhood groups, have come together, and what we're going to be launching very soon is basically an educational program for not just kids and students, but also the general public, and make people aware and try to reduce the stigma of addiction, and that it is a disease and it's not a choice, and it's not just a matter of, not caring. And so by removing that stigma and getting education out there, we can hopefully get people to come back to other programs in town and not be afraid to reach out and ask for help, even for the family unit that can be devastated by a member that is addicted. And one of our participants, his son went through an addiction problem years ago, and they tried to fix it amongst the family, which was a very strong family unit, and they admitted that it almost destroyed their family, because you without professional help, you cannot fix this problem. And so they reached out and finally got professional help, and I'm glad to say, their son's in full recovery for years now, and the family is still together, but they use their experience to try to help other families, and that's what, it's a combination of Ipswich Cares, Ipswich Hopes, so there's a lot of different things going on right now.
It's a big wheel.
It's a big wheel,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And sometimes people don't see it or hear about it, but it is going on. And it's all about helping people with addiction and stemming this epidemic that's not just Ipswich, it's the whole region.
So we'll get back on topic.
Yes.
Thank you for letting the community know what's going on, because I want people to understand we're working very, very hard as one unit. Before we were separate, trying to do we had the same goals in mind, but we were getting there in all different directions. And now I feel strongly that we're coming now all together, and we're getting to that goal in one direction, and it's been so good to see this all unfold over the past year. And I said at the beginning of this process, this could be years before we see any fruits of our labor, but in 1 year's time, the community of Ipswich has done so much for its citizens, and that's something we should all be proud of the community that we live in. So back on topic, to the H.O.P.E program. Yes, the Angels volunteers are coming, a lot of them are coming out of the First Church and beyond, but initially the First Church. And Maureen, you said, I want to be part of this program. I want to be able to help these people. I want to be an angel. Can you tell us a little bit of why you want to get involved and why you want to be an angel?
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
My husband Ted and I are currently 2 of 15 angels that have been well trained. We've attended numerous meetings, including 2 3-hour sessions of role playing and questions and answers, so we feel very ready. Myself personally, I'm a newly retired person, so the timing aligned quite well with me. I was looking for many ways to spend my hours in a productive way now, and this came up to me through church at the right time. So I'm on call always. My husband, just to bring to your attention, because as we grow, we're going to be looking for many more angels. The need is just going to continue to grow. He is currently still working, so he's available evenings and weekends. So it's really, anybody can do it, especially with the good training that's gone on. I've always been told over the years that I'm a good listener, and like anything else, that's usually the number one skill that you need. And to be compassionate with people in need, we need to listen. So that's basically what I plan to do. I plan to show up when I'm called, take my cues from the person that's asking for help, listen, and watch for body language, and then take it from there. And again, with the good training, I hope to succeed. We are talking about starting a monthly support group of the angels so that we'll be able to come together and talk about our experiences and learn from each other and just keep getting better and stronger as time goes on.
So explain, Reverend, the trainings that took place. We had to reach out to other angels, as I understand it,
Yes.
to get that training. Could you explain to us a little bit about
Exactly,
that?
yes. We reached out to the Gloucester Angels and asked them what was most important. And they started with just giving us 3 pages of guidelines. And those guidelines suggested things like not trying to be a friend to the person who's coming in for support, but to be an ally. If there's a fine line there, they taught us how to understand that, but that our job is to be a loving presence and calm and kind and sympathetic, and we worked a lot on what that means. And then we did a whole lot of role plays that first night. It was actually really fun because lots of surprises came up. One member of the angel team who works with homeless people took the role of a person coming in for treatment, and she had brought in lots of themes she'd run into in her work in a Gloucester homeless shelter and raised them for another person playing the other role, the role of the person who'd volunteered as an angel. And so we watched each other go through this, and the surprises and the curveballs, and really the emphasis again and again was, how do you learn how to be kind and calm and an ally to someone so that they can stay? Because I think it must be for someone who's in that kind of a dire strait, a time of incredible anxiety when you may not even be sure you can stay. You might be thinking, maybe I should just leave.
Yeah.
And the idea of being, kind enough and steady enough that someone would want to stay with you as long as you can stay with them while the treatment center is located by the police officers making the phone calls.
Now, you brought something up in your remarks that through this week of unveiling this new program, I never even thought of. If you do want to be an angel, obviously First Church is implementing this first, but if I wanted to become an angel or somebody within the community, how would we go about doing that? Is there a process or
As a matter of fact, I've already received calls at the police station for people willing and desiring to join the Angels program, and I have pass that information on to Rebecca for her to contact them and see about getting them some training if they, meet the criteria, if
Sure.
they're
So
available.
we're going to start a mentoring program.
So if anybody is interested and wants to volunteer, they can either send me an email at the police department, call the police department, ask to speak to the chief. You may not get me personally, but you'll get my voicemail. And I promise you, you will be contacted if you leave your information by somebody that will get you to Rebecca, who is the de facto coordinator now.
So
to
let's
do that.
let's be clear about that. You're
Yes.
going to be the coordinator of the Angel
Yes,
program.
Mary Elkin and I are coordinating it, and Maureen will tell you what the next step is because she has been
Well,
helping
I
us
heard you
define it.
just kind of
Yeah.
whisper the word mentoring.
I want to
so-
make sure it doesn't get forgotten.
Yes,
Yeah, go
exactly.
ahead.
For those people that are somewhat interested, a little hesitant, we want to reassure you that we are well trained and we are all loving people, and we would love for you to join our group, and we're going to be providing a one-on-one mentoring training sessions for as long as the need is expressed by yourself. So we hope to encourage you not to hold back. If you're at all interested, now's a good time to jump in because we're going to be growing pretty rapidly.
Chief Nikas.
I would just like to say that this program cannot work without the Angels.
Right.
That is the biggest component to getting this to be a successful program for Ipswich. So I urge you, if you do want to, and if you still have reservations, please at least reach out to us and speak with these Angels, and I'm confident that you'll decide to join.
And as I understand the H.O.P.E program, so in Gloucester, some of the information that we had received is that actually a lot of citizens from outside of Gloucester will go to the police station to get that help. That will be the case here in Ipswich as well. We've been talking
Absolutely.
about the Ipswich community and Ipswich residents, but we want people to know that outside of Ipswich they can come here as well for help. Is that an accurate statement?
That is absolutely accurate. If even if you're not from Massachusetts, addiction doesn't care where you live or what state you live in. We're just here to help. The community of Ipswich is willing to help anybody. Our residents especially, but if you live outside of Ipswich, you're more than welcome to come to our town and get help.
And I think people need to understand that the help they may get may not be in Massachusetts. As part of the program, you are calling to get help throughout the United States, not just Massachusetts. So there may be a time when one of our folks who need help are going to come in and may end up in another state. And you talked about the funding for our ambulance company to be able to get you from point A to point B, but we're also going to be getting people to the airport and on a plane possibly to another part of the country. Is that an accurate statement?
Possible.
Absolutely. We actually, in the PARI network of treatment facilities, they're as far all the way out to California, Texas, Arizona. So we have access to anywhere in the country that signs on. We primarily will try to locate you in the New England and Massachusetts area, but if you do get a bed in a facility in Arizona, there is funds and processes in place to get you to the Logan Airport, get you through security, and get you onto a flight where you will be met when you land by a counselor from the receiving treatment facility.
Beautiful. So this is quite a network that's been set up.
This is where PARI is now in 25 different states, and we have treatment facilities in over 30 states. So as this network grows, there'll be more and more and more. I think it's a fantastic program, and it's expanding rapidly. So I have full confidence we will always be able to find somebody, a facility, for them to get the help that they need.
Beautiful. Now, I think I want to emphasize to our Ipswich citizens, don't be afraid to come to the Ipswich Police Department.
Absolutely.
What I've heard from other programs is a lot of citizens don't necessarily go to their own police department because maybe they're embarrassed or don't want people to know that they have an issue. But I think what we've been working on over the past year is the stigma we're trying to remove. We understand you have an issue,
Right.
Don't be embarrassed by it. Don't feel like by walking in you're going to be targeted throughout the community that you have an issue. We want to be there for help, so don't be afraid to come to Ipswich Police if you're an Ipswich resident. I think should be a strong message. But also, if you do need help from outside of Ipswich, feel free to come to Ipswich as well.
Absolutely. Do not be embarrassed. Law enforcement has confidentiality issues. All of my angels have signed confidentiality agreements to protect people's rights. So there is no worries about having people discuss you having a disease publicly. It'll be kept private and confidential, and you can get the help you need.
Very, very good.
The other truth that's a part of that is that the premise of this program is that addiction is a disease, not a bad decision or a problem with saying no or something like that. The premise is that addiction is a disease like cancer or diabetes, and that some of us get caught up in it, and we need help just as much as someone with diabetes needs help. And so the idea is, as we destigmatize the label of an addict, that it's great to be able to reach out for help, and that you're
and do that locally.
If you want to come locally, we'd love to help you locally. If you want to travel across the country to come to Ipswich, there's a train from North Station, comes right up here in 55 minutes, and we'd love to have you. You can walk to the police station from the train station.
Well, I think this is great, and I'm thrilled we finally have a program like this. And I say in Little Ipswich, I think it's going to be a great help and a great asset to our community. I'm thrilled that we were able to pull this together. I think it's going to be a very successful program. We have about 3 minutes left in the show, so do you want to add anything that hasn't already been said?
Just that I'm really grateful to the people of this town and to my colleagues, you three, and the people working on these networks all over town to get this started, and how much energy there is.
Maureen?
I
I could come over and give you a big kiss on the cheek because, and all of the angels, because
Right.
as the chief said, this is going to be successful because of your work. So we thank you for being involved.
It's my pleasure.
Of course, but anything you want to add?
I had one quick thought. For those of you that are thinking maybe you can't fit it into your busy schedules, we're simply on a call list. If I get a call and I'm not available, I'm going to be honest and say, I wish I could do it, but I can't. And they'll say, okay, hang up and call the next person. So it's wide open and loose. Just getting your name on the call list is a big help.
And Chief, it's been an honor to work with you and partner with you in this particular instance, as we have for so many other things. Would you like to say any last words before we close shop here?
No, I think we've all said what we need to say, and I look forward to a successful program. And if you do need help, please come to the station. We will get you help, and we'll have an angel for you.
Okay. Well, that's the end of this edition of A View from the Hill. And I just want to remind people, we're taping this today, which is July 1st. And by the way, I know it's July because I saw my first greenhead last night. And I want you to know it's up, it's running, it's a great program. If you need some help, we're here for you. Reach out to us. You have a great community that you live in that wants to help you in every way that we can together. So thank you for tuning in to another edition of A View from the Hill, and we'll see you next month when we're going to talk about elections.